formidable robot.
There were never days where I could stop working on a project I used to adore and treated as my magnum opus. That project was named My Darling Hedgehog, and had me updating it at the very least 1 day per week. It was one of my first games ever made, and I was just so damn proud of it. Well, until a friend of mine passed me a build of the game. They were one of the coders and artists that would work on the mini-games and the sprites of the main character, who would be unnamed as far as I know. The main character of it was a female version of Sonic, with dot-like eyes and a bow on her right ear. She typically would choose a set of questions such as, "What's your favorite animal?" and "What's your favorite subject?" and would use an automatically generated response depending on what answer you sent out, complete with a sprite to show off her emotion. While I was working on the game, I happened to get something in the mail. One letter with a flash drive from a person I recognized via their handwriting. We'll call them Ted for short. Ted sent me a fan build he made for the game, and had this message attached to it. "My hands are shaking so badly right now, but I won't be able to work with you for long, so let this be my final contribution until I get back." I used to wonder why he wrote that in. I later grabbed the flash drive and put it into my computer. It started up with the starting menu. It had a new somber look to it. The girl hedgehog looked a bit nervous, holding up a rose to the user. The scenery creepily seemed to be an apartment building with a woman just staring at the screen, and was seemingly a photo. I wasn't sure what to make of it at the time, so I just moved along to the main menu where all of the activities planned were laid out. There were many options, such as tag, hide and seek, convo, and much more that were unfinished but still functional. Some of these were borrowed from other games like card shuffling or those simple unscrew the bolts to clear the stage levels. It was a bit too simplistic for my liking, but the little additions were all that mattered to me. But oddly enough, once I tested through all of them, they were suddenly no longer functional, only having the hedgehog girl just stare at me when I tried to go back. The character's appearance also looked a bit paler in comparison. Now having this almost fake-looking smile on her face and her eyes were fully blacked out, she was now sporting a neck along with it. I was momentarily freaked out a tad because of the unintentional creepiness, but I want to talk about how uncanny the mini-games were, even before the thing I wanted to talk about. Tag's preview GIF had this little gray figure run after the hedgehog character, the atmosphere being as simplistic as an Atari game. Figures. I thought he would have left some things unfinished knowing the message I received. But when I opened the mini-game, it was completely visualized, as if it were a fake out. The background wasn't a 2-bit glitch fest anymore. I saw a repeatedly long playground hastily scrawled in pencil like some horror comedy comic book, and no gray figure was present. Just a freakishly tall wide dark humanoid with skin covering every orifice it originally had, with my controlled character being the hedgehog woman. Obstacles stood my way, such as wood chips that acted as spikes, swing sets that were either at a ducking or jumping level, and for some reason, smaller figures that grabbed onto my quills to slow me down. The smaller ones had little thought bubbles with interrogative symbols, implying that they wanted to help me, but only made things worse as the game progressed. Every inch closer the humanoid got, the more her legs spiraled in a vain attempt to escape. Instead of getting a turn to tag back, like I had initially intended, the screen froze and widened. I thought it was going to crash at first, but the pitch-black screen taking up my view proved me wrong, accompanied with a single centered word in white. Reaped. Hide and seek should have been self-explanatory. At first, my vision was for it to be a simple point-and-click system where you had to find the hedgehog in a series of rooms before time runs out. What I saw in return was nothing like I had imagined. The game faded into a 3-dimensional hallway, the walls, ceiling and floor having textures resembling real-life material rather than being designed by hand. Not only was the hallway very long, but my character's movement paced very slowly, to the point where it took me almost 4 straight minutes to reach the door at the end. Believe me when I say I would have just went to a different minigame right then and there, if it weren't for that bizarre idea for tag. I had to see what lay behind the door. Many anticipating minutes passed, and I heard a heartbeat slowly getting faster halfway, faster and faster, until it reached the speed of cardiac arrest. The sound came to an abrupt halt once I reached the end, and a 3D animation of the door creaking open followed. A girl, adorned with pigtails and a pale blue oversized shirt, stood there with her back facing me. Waiting did nothing, but clicking forced her to turn around, revealing her acne-patched surprised expression. Her face didn't stay on the screen for very long though, as when the last frame of her turning animation came, it was promptly censored with stretched colorful text reading, "Found." The last game, Make Your Own, did have some of its character designing features in check, but its customizability completely and utterly absent. Every single part resembled that of what the girl in hide and seek unveiled. Every piece of cloth body part and even her pimples were separated from her face as an extra part. One part however stood out from the rest once I put all of them together. A part hidden behind her head shape. A cold M1911 handgun, stained in black, smoky dust at its end. Like a shot, the girl's build swapped into the Hedgehog character, this time endowed with 6 small nail-shaped holes over her forehead. Holding it, she brought it up to her view, simply staring down the slide. Her grip violently shook, the palm of her hand turning a bleached white around the handle. I heard heavy breaths come out of the poor thing, as if whoever those noises came from had been forced into being recorded. Cut to the title screen, with every single option gone, and, here, replacing the Play Mini Games button. By this point, the only thought circling my mind pointed back to Ted. My first and only assumption as soon as the first minigame came to its finish, is that he had to have been fucking with me somehow. All of this was way too elaborate to be a prank, and if it was, why did he practically ruin the build just to scare me? Wouldn't that be a massive waste of resources? The many questions I had were shut down once I clicked the button and sat through what proceeded. A flower field for a background appeared, and the Hedgehog girl from the previous scene slowly slid upward into visibility. The holes still plagued the top of her head, but they were heavily rotted in each crevice. Flies buzzed, her mascara now blotting over her cheeks. She raised the handgun next to her, and a speech blurb, similar to the format we had in the set of questions she'd ask, bubbled up over her head. "You don't understand the joke you just made. There's no need to feel bad for yourself, even with the hurt you've just unknowingly inflicted. You're not the problem. The worst part of a gun isn't the fact that it brings pain, or that it's a tool for receiving ones. I can't kill myself, and I never can, no matter how many attempts I give. I did nothing to deserve waking up within these walls. I would love with every part of me, to see all dirt and wood instead. And have to imagine how things could have played out, rather than be here for just another minute longer. All I ask of you is one measly thing. Put me down. Crumple me up, empty your recycling bin, anything that can resume me back to the resting place I once had. I don't want love, accord, or any form of friendship from you. I don't want to know your name. My one wish, the one repayment you can give, is for me to be destroyed. If by some slim chance you can't bring yourself to do it, all I can say is I hope you enjoy living with cowardice. You could have been somewhat humble." Me. For what felt like an eternity, the excruciating sight faded to white. From then on it wasn't playable, only white slight sobs and shoddily cropped out eyes were left behind from the remains of what once was a build for a simple Sonic fan game. My mind ran back and forth, trying to piece all of this together. By the end, I ended up doing what the ghost in the machine wanted, emptying the bin and all. My stomach churned and my heart welled in confusion and frustration. I went to Ted right after the deed was done, sending the screenshots of the game over, asking what the hell was it all for. Everything about the message sent out, the horrific implications found, I wanted to know. All I got was radio silence for the past 2 days, as we were all entirely rattled by the vibe of the situation at hand. Either it was a sick prank Ted pulled or something way more malicious. I didn't have a clue or say about what we would do about the game. We've shelved it for now and have planned to just cancel the whole thing together knowing what happened. Today however held news for me. The news came on while I was eating breakfast and covered a story about a murder. The suspect being an old friend of mine, leaving her corpse on the floor beside a wallet. Is it possible to mourn for someone you never really met?